Insecurity, whether in the form of insurgency or kidnapping, is one of the biggest threats to the economic growth of any nation. Nigeria is the largest economy in the African continent, and as the nation marches towards the 2023 general elections, what happens will have a significant implication for the entire continent. And that is why the current gains against insurgency and banditry is being applauded to create a secured environment for the elections. This week, we will focus on that and other issues of development around the continent. And I am Charles Alpha, welcoming you to this week's edition of Africa Weekly. In view of the prevailing security challenges across Nigeria, the Nigerian Army has reassured of secure environment during the forthcoming 2023 general elections. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, re-echoed these at the third quarter Chief of Army Staff conference held in Abuja, where he said there will be no hiding place for bandits and insurgents.
Various security challenges truncating socioeconomic activities in different parts of the country. To stem these threats, Army principal officers, commanders and heads of formations assembled to appraise its activities and to strategize to enhance ongoing operations.
The troops deployed in the South-South region under Operation Delta Safe have continued to perform creditably with the regimented joint operations leading to the arrests of several suspects and their sponsors. Our offensive operations in the Northwest and North Central regions have also been intensified. Troops, in conjunction with the Nigerian Air Force, have continued to neutralize bandits and destroy their hideouts.
Preparatory to 2023 general elections, the Nigerian Army has reviewed its rules of engagement and code of conduct for its personnel on election security.
We have reviewed that document, taking into cognizance recent happenings and what should be done, and judging from our past experiences.
The Army acknowledged support from other services and security agencies.
Joining us now via Zoom from Port Harcourt to analyze this issue is Jackson Lekanojo. He's a security expert and a political analyst. Mr. Jackson, we'd like to say thank you very much for coming on Africa Weekly.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, now to begin with, can you give us your own assessments of the current state of insecurity in Nigeria ahead of the election?
Well, we are thanking God now that it's improving. Because in a situation we find ourselves, the security must go and gather intelligence, submit it, analyze it, then give it to the military and the paramilitary that are going to face these people war to war, gun to gun. But it was like things like that was not there before. But I thank for the intervention of the series with Commander-in-Chief and even National Assembly that summoned the service chiefs. So I think the resultant effect of it is what we are facing today. And I can see, though it does not mean that the situation is coming down seriously, but at least drastically these people are descending on these notorious elements in.
Now, now that you have told us that there seems to be an increased synergy between the security operatives. Now, how do we sustain, this collaboration that you have just talked about?
The synergy should be established by the security chiefs, intelligence chiefs, and family chiefs, and not at that top alone. Because the people at the top alone they are in the offices and the men on ground. Let there be serious collaboration. Let not the army see the police as enemies. Let the security element not see the military and paramilitary as enemies. They should see themselves like the 12 men on the football field that are there purposely to score goals. So if there is serious collaboration at the top, and the men that are going to do this battle on the field, if there's no serious collaboration, in a situation whereby you see army beating police and other things, if the animosity exists between them, definitely there's no way they can work together. And without working together, they are going to fail. And at the end of the day, Nigerians are going to suffer for it. So I plead, let there be internal training, internal communications from the top down to the bottom, for them to know the importance of what we are doing together. Is not the work of the police alone, it's not the work of the military alone, and it's not the work of the security people alone. These people must come together, work together, achieve this, and call this goal for greatness and peaceful coexistence of Nigeria and to better our peace and economy.
About we look ahead to 2023 general election, and just how crucial is this synergy, how crucial is security for this exercise, particularly in troubled areas that have been identified in Nigeria during the election period.
Well, as a security expert, every part of the country today has become a flashpoint. As we had it initially, we had it in the northeast. Gradually, the thing reared ugly head to the northwest. Now it's in the north central. Now it has moved with another level of attack that we could not understand in the southeast. In the west, kidnapping exists. Yeah. So today, all hands must be on deck. All Nigerians must come together. All politicians must come together to be united for the purpose of achieving security and get our environment secured during and after 2023 election.
Yes,
but if we are handling this thing, and we are believing that it is the party in power that will get it right, then we are all deceiving ourselves.
Okay, now, Mr. Jackson, you just touched a very vital aspect, of your conversation. And when you said all hands must be on deck, security is not a one-man show. Everybody has to be. Now, it brings me to this question that what now should be the specific roles communities should play, in ensuring that Nigeria is secure.
Number one thing, we have the tool of information. Now, with the kind of phones and other gadgets we display around, honestly, those are enough things now for us to quickly get information. If you discover now, you see that if a policeman now harass a driver, people will record it and send it, and they will track the officer down. But if we see criminals in our environment, that we know that these are aliens to this environment, nobody is going to snap such a person and send it to the security.
Yeah.
And you expect policeman in the police station to know what is happening in your street. You expect the man in the army barrack to know what is happening in your street. Intelligence can never be an intelligence if there is nobody that release an intelligence to intelligence officers. So all of us, we have these phones in our hand. Even 5,000 phone these days can snap picture and record. When you get all these things, then send it to the appropriate authority it will be screened. And before you know, they will bracket these people. But in a situation whereby you see a car, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 cars parked in your street, and they relax in that car, and nobody could question them till the middle of the night. When these people now will now invite others to attack, whom are you blaming? Are you blaming the security? Are you blaming the military or paramilitary in this situation? No, that is it. A lot of us in Nigeria we are afraid to send information to police or to SSS no. We should be addressed. National Orientation Agency, Ministry of Information should come out with all these informations. That when you give information, you are saving your lives, you are saving your economy, you are saving others.
Thank you so much, our public analyst, Mr. Jackson Lekon Ojo, there for finding time to talk to us on Africa Weekly.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right. All right, the public affairs analyst there, Mr. Jackson Lekon, talking to us there via Zoom from Port Harcourt. Application of technology in fighting insecurity is one option many have advocated. One of such technologies is space science. How effective can it be in the Nigerian and African context? We now join Engineer Opanachi George, the National Chairman, Nigerian Institution of Space Engineers. I would like to say many thanks for coming on Africa Weekly, Mr. Opanachi George.
Good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here this afternoon.
All right, now thank you so much. Now, can you give us your perspective on what role space technology can play in tackling insecurity in Nigeria?
Space technology can play many roles in tackling the challenges we are facing in Nigeria, ranging from surveillance, detection, and response to the threats.
So, what are your thoughts on the development and application of space technology in Africa?
I'll narrow it down to Nigeria. Nigeria is doing a lot in the area of space technology. Satellites, about 5 satellites have been launched into space by the National Space Research and Development Agency and the Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited, NISCOMSAT. But then we still need to do more by launching more satellites into space. And the incumbent Director General of the National Space Research and Development Agency, Dr. Halilu Ahmad Shaba, is making a lot of effort in this direction towards getting government support and also involving the private organization in actualizing this.
Okay, now, what now is the level of collaboration between the space agency and your institution in advancing space science and technology in Nigeria?
Nigerian Institution of Space Engineers is one of the divisions of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. And our core mandate, we act as policy drivers and ensuring the efficient practice of space technology in Nigeria. There is a high level of collaboration between the space agency, the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and in particularly the Nigerian Institution of Space Engineers. As we speak, the headquarters of the Nigerian Institution of Space Engineers is situated within the headquarters of the National Space Research and Development Agency. And we have gone into many collaborations with them in aspect of project development and trainings of the workforce.
Okay, now taking you back again to the issue of security. Now, how is space technology helping the nation in tackling the issue of insecurity? going into 2023 general elections?
Space technology helps in surveillance, like I mentioned, and this can be achieved through the use of navigation satellites, GNS, global navigation satellites, and the communication satellites. So what space technology can do in particular is surveillance and detection of the threats. And also, in going into the 2023 general election, space technology is also useful to the independent National Electoral Commission through the transmission of results.
Okay, now I asked you this question again before I let you go. Now, how much of this, is being deployed, to be able to achieve, this purpose, in tackling insecurity now in Nigeria? Have you been using this, and how much of result have you gotten, and how do you intend to deploy this going into the election?
Like I mentioned before, Nigeria have launched satellites into space, but as at the time the design of these satellites were done, security threats were not part of our challenges. So that was not very much incorporated into the design. But when the threat started, like I mentioned, the Director General of the National Space Research and Development Agency has made collaboration with the Defense Space Administration and other security agencies in ensuring that, because what you get from any satellite is a function of the payload. The payload is what you want the satellites to achieve for you. So efforts are being made into launching satellites that will be more useful in tackling the security challenges. And like I said, the management of the National Space Research and Development Agency is not just leaving this to the government alone. It's also involving the private sector in actualizing this.
Okay, now, so how much of awareness is your organization or agency creating about, what is happening in the space industry, space technology?
The Nigerian Institution of Space Engineers is doing a lot in this aspect. We do technical visits to organizations relevant to the space sector. We've been here at the NTA headquarters before, and I'm happy to say that your station is using the services of the Nigerian communication satellite. That's but great. Besides that, we take this to secondary schools, primary schools, and even tertiary institutions, creating awareness on the relevance of space technology and how much effort is being made by the government of the Federation in actualizing this. Just last week, the National Space Research and Development Agency opened the door of the museum to students in primary and secondary school to come and see what we have there at no cost to students that made that visit.
All right, now, Mr. Okpanachi, I just can't help asking this question. In the next 10 years, where do you see Nigeria in the space industry?
I see Nigeria as one of the leading countries in space technology in Africa, and also making input across the world, because a lot of effort is being made by government in this direction. And the management of the National Space Research and Development Agency, Nigerian Communication Satellite Limited, are also doing a lot in this regard. And by the time all the plans being made are actualized, I will tell you confidently that Nigeria will be one of the leading countries in space technology in Africa.
All right, thank you so much for sparing your time to talk to us on Africa Weekly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
All right. Mr. Okpanachi, the engineer Okpanachi, George there on the importance of space technology in tackling insecurity in Nigeria. Thanks for staying with us. And our African Ministerial Conference on Environment is ongoing in Dakar, Senegal, with the theme securing people's well-being and ensuring environmental sustainability in Africa.
It is common knowledge that although Africa contributes the least to climate change, the region is most impacted by its effects. Preparatory to the 27th Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in Egypt, African delegates are projecting adaptation financing as a central theme for negotiations.
To gather all adaptation projects, and also to share it with all the international communities, to have some opportunities, to have some finance resource in order to implement adaptation projects.
The logic for them is simple. Let those whose economic development resulted in the changing climate fund the adaptation needs of Africa, which is suffering the impact of the change.
In order to save lives, in order to save livelihood, in order to save also our ecosystems. So funding is important, money is important, and then we have to make sure that those who create the problem will provide enough resources to tackle it.
Developed countries had pledged a $100 billion support for adaptation in Africa every year, but that is yet to be fulfilled.
William Ruto has been sworn in as Kenya's president as more than 60,000 people attended the inauguration at the Nairobi's Karasani Sports Center.
Thousands of people gathered in Nairobi's main stadium to witness the inauguration of Kenya's newly elected president, William Samoei Ruto. The new president's oath of office were administered by the Chief Registrar of Judiciary.
So help me God. So help me God. Tumpongeze kwa makofi.
The 55-year-old William Ruto is Kenya's fifth president since independence in 1963. During the event, outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta handed over the symbols of power, a sword and a copy of Kenya's constitution to the new president. The inaugural event featured a military guard of honor, a flypast, and the musical performances. About 20 heads of state from across Africa are in Nairobi to witness the transition. Mr. Ruto won last month's election narrowly, beating the seasoned politician Raila Odinga in a result that was confirmed by the Supreme Court. Major roads have been sealed off and heavy security deployed around the stadium and city. The outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta, who had backed Mr. Odinga, congratulated the winner on Monday after Supreme Court upheld Ruto's victory last week. William Ruto will have to tackle as a matter of urgency an economy in a dire strait and a deeply polarized country.
And on that cheering note, we end this week's edition of Africa Weekly. Thanks for being part of it. I am Charles Alpha saying thank you for watching.